Secrets of Top Selling Agents with your hosts, Deborah Helleran and Mel McMurrin.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Deborah Helleran, producer and host of Secrets of Top Selling Agents. And I, along with my co-host Mel McMurrin, are quite excited to be hosting one of the most influential voices in real estate today, Gary Keller.
And he'll be joined by co-writer Jay Papapsan, who collaborated with Gary on 3 books. And if you don't have these books on your shelf, they better be in your hands. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and Shift, How Top Real Estate Agents Tackle Tough Times.
When you look at tough times and look at Shift, the first thing that comes to my mind is the issue of just effort in general. Many years ago, my son and I were talking, and I asked him to do something. He says, "I don't want to do it." And I went, First, what does that have to do with anything? But hang on just a second, young man. And I drew a line on a sheet of paper, and I said, look, I just want you to look at this line and realize that it's an effort line. But I want you to realize that the far right would represent massive success, and the far left would represent massive failure. I said, John, there's no such thing in life as a perfect success, and there's no such thing in life as a perfect failure. Essentially, our lives are lived in between that. I said, on the same time, I also want you to see this line as an effort line. And I want you to think of the far right as 100% doing everything that you absolutely have to do in life to be a massive success. And on the far left, doing nothing and being a massive failure. And again, our lives are lived in between those two. I said, the interesting thing is if you look everything on the left up to the X, to the middle, I said, I want you to think of that effort as the things that you like to do. And I want you to think of everything to the right of the X as everything that you have to do. The reason why most people live in the middle is because, and are average, is because they only do what they like to do. They get up in the morning and say, I don't want to do this. I only want to do this. And that's all they do. And that's how you get to average. I said, how far to the right of average you end up living your life is in direct proportion to the number of additional things that you will do, not only based on what you like to do, but what you have to do. So when times are tough, when things start shifting, the first thing that has to happen is you have to make a decision. How far to the right am I going to give my effort? When you look at national shifts, you realize that they happen very gradually. National shifts happen very gradually. In fact, if you go back to the last quarter of 2005, when all of this really began, it was interesting because I'd be in meetings or in phone conversations with agents, and what I would hear is, on one hand, well, we're being devastated. And on the other hand, I would hear people saying, well, we haven't been hit at all. And it was almost like, they were the people that hadn't been hit at all would stand up and say, hey, I'm okay, I wasn't hit, I'm fine, I'm alive. What they didn't realize is theirs was coming. And I would remember back in 2006 and 2007, I would have people, for instance, in where I live in Austin, Texas, going, well, boy, I guess we're going to miss this one. I guess we got ours back in the 80s, and we're going to swing on through this. And I would simply say, you better batten down the hatches, yours is coming. But what's fascinating, Jay, is that very few people listen. When times are good, even if others are having a tough time, it doesn't really register that they need to shift and flip around. What happens, however, is that local shifts happen very fast. And what happens is when those happen fast, it's breathtaking, and it can drop quickly. In fact, it does happen that way. You don't really see it coming. The only way you see it coming is it's happening to everyone else. Well, I think if you look at the U.S. today and Canada, I think you can safely say that we're all now in the shift. There are very few pockets in the United States and Canada today that have now either gone into it and begun to come out a little bit or are still deep in it. The other thing you have to realize is that, because a lot of people say, well, how long is this going to last? And I say, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't really matter. It's a good question. I appreciate the question. But it doesn't really matter. It's going to last as long as it's going to last, and you can't predict that. What's going to be a challenge for you is what I simply call the law of equilibrium. And that is, if you look at the mathematical equation of how we make money, you realize that it's the number of sales divided by the number of agents. And that's how you get the average deals done per agent. What happens is when the market shifts and it drops fast, the number of transactions drop out faster than the number of agents drop out. So what we end up with is let's say just for argument's sake that the market dropped in half, heaven forbid. So if you had 100 agents in the market, you're now doing 50% of the business with the same 100. So the roller coaster, the ride where you have to hang on to your seat, mathematically is you have to survive either the market coming back or you have to do more transactions than the average during this period. Otherwise, if you just ride the average train, then your number of transactions could also, in this example, go by half. So you have to survive the law of equilibrium. It means if you don't up your effort dramatically, and we'll talk about that a little later, then you're simply going to drop with the average. And that's not where you want to be.
One of the points about the book, isn't it, Gary, that this is all about these 12 tactics, getting your unfair share of the market.
Yeah. I started my business career back in 1979, Jay, and by the way, interest rates were somewhere between 18 and 20% in the first 6 months I started my career. In Texas, we had usury, so you couldn't charge more than 10% interest or it was illegal. So we ended up having sellers paying as many as 12 to 14 discount points. So here I was, 22 years old, going on listing appointments and asking sellers to pay 12 to 14 discount points on top of all the other closing costs in order to close the transaction. So they were looking at drops anywhere from 18 to 22% bites out of their equity to sell. The reason I bring this up is I started my career in extremely hard times. When we started Keller Williams in the mid-'80s, within 2.5 to 3 years, the bottom had dropped out again. And I've gone through, this is my fourth really tough market that I have experienced in my career since I started in 1979. So when I put kind of the framework together for this book, I wasn't necessarily thinking about just these times because the book was written and put together before we got into the middle of this. It was really, when I looked at these 12 tactics, I went back to all of my notes that I had taken over the years on what happens during tough times and what agents do. And these are, in fact, the major 12 issues that come up. They don't all come up equally in every tough market, as we'll talk about in a second, but they all do show up in some way. So these are it. Now, by the way, these are 12 tactics for either tough market times or tough personal times. This is not a book that is necessarily just going to argue that the reason you need to shift, or the only time you ever need to shift, is when the market shifts you. You could look up and say, you know what, I want to shift my career into a higher gear, which essentially is what a shift downward is going to cause you to do anyway. But if you wanted to shift your career into a higher gear, these are the 12 tactics, or the major ones, that you're going to have to address in order to do that.
So it's timeless. So where do you start? What's got the highest priority?
Well, I hate to go Zig Ziglar on you, but the first one is mindset. And the reason I say that is when I looked at all my notes, when I looked at all the interviews that I do on a monthly and annual basis, year in and year out, and I keep diaries on all this, Jay, when I go back and look, and I ask this question somewhere in my dialogue, what's the toughest thing you face? What's the hardest issue or toughest issue that you face right now? Invariably, I would say 9 out of 10 say mindset. And they say my mindset, and number 2, they say the mindset of everyone around me. In other words, to do the best business they can do, these top agents always acknowledge that staying positive, staying up, staying plugged in to doing what they have to do, even though it's so much harder, is absolutely the number one issue that they have to do. They have to shift their mindset.
And that happens before they can actually take a different kind of action.
Well, sure, it's mind before action. So it's think and grow rich, right? So it's the way your mind goes, so does your actions. So it's a mental shift and it's an action shift. You don't shift your actions and then go, whoa, how'd that happen? I wasn't aware that I was actually doing more. I don't think it works that way. I think it's actually a mental shift and an action shift. So if you want your actions to shift, first thing you have to do is you have to make a mental shift.
And that starts with kind of acknowledging reality, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You got to get real.
You've got to get real. Say, this is what I'm dealing with. Now, how am I going to deal with it?
Yeah, and that means from an action standpoint, you're going to have to take ownership of 2 things, and that's lead generation and lead conversion. You're going to have to generate the leads, and you're going to also have to convert them to appointments, and that's going to be the big challenge.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. A lead is no good unless it leads you to an appointment.
Right. So tactic 1 is simply get your mindset, get your game face on. I can't tell you again. Think about this. in watching sports at any level, from elementary, high school, college, professional, doesn't matter. In any sport, one of the things you'll notice is as the game goes on, you'll be able to tell if the person or the team you're rooting for is mentally engaged and is willing to do whatever it takes to win. And usually you'll notice that the team that is losing is probably losing or is obviously losing the mental battle.
You can see it in their posture and the way they sit and stand.
Yeah, and usually, yes, you can. And usually the announcers will either talk about it during a game or they'll talk about it after the match or the game in the paper the next day about the mental preparation, about the mental attitude, about the willingness to get after it and make it happen. So tactic one is a real simple one. Unfortunately, it sounds so simple that people blow it off. But if I look at my notes and I go through all of those interviews over the years and I look at the questions that I ask, the number one thing that comes up, and again, 9 out of 10 will say it, and that is, I have to fight my mental attitude. I have to steal it to do whatever it takes to be successful.
What we've talked to a lot of our agents, and some of them actually use affirmations to get through that, don't they?
Yeah. We're going to talk in a little bit about lead generation and how you actually even move past the positive affirmations towards the actual actions you got to take.
The positive actions.
Yeah.
Right. Well, tactic number 2, the first thing that you do after you get your head straight is remargin the business.
Well, the reason that this comes up number 2 is because the issue that you have is trying to revenue your way out of a shift is tough, right? So what you want to do is you want to lower your costs now. You want to do that because that's something you can do. When the shift happens, and again, it's breathtaking, you want to get the cost lower. You want to get them low because that's the thing you can control.
We looked at, if you can remember that graph, people were building their business around increasing revenues over about a 7-year period for some markets.
They were anticipating it going up.
And they were thinking this is going to go on. So they took out bigger
leases.
leases, more expensive leases, more staff, and suddenly, wham, it falls off a cliff. You've got to get it corrected fast.
Yeah, they're ramping up their expenses. That's exactly right.
All right, so once you get your revenue back in line, well, what's the next thing you do?
Well, the issue is that once you've dropped your expenses to where you need to, the next thing you want to do is mentally remember to play the game red light, green light. And that's simply a game of now that you've got everything in alignment so that your expenses match your revenue. And that's hard, Jazz. When again, I say that is brutal. It could be breathtaking. It could be a drop in 50% of your expenses. And by the way, just as a sidebar, I'm talking about your business and your personal. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about drop your expenses. Right? Because for an independent contractor, your expenses, your personal expenses and your business expenses are essentially the same issue as it relates to how much money you have to have. They add up together to cause that for you.
Yeah, the money you need is kind of like the salary you pay that employee, or you have to lay them off.
Mm-hmm. Right. And in your case, it's also the house payment, the car payment, the kids' costs, and all those sort of things. So you've got to drop your expenses and do it fast and do not goof around. Now, I'll give you another hint. You don't do it once. Every month you do it again, and the next month you do it again, and the next month you do it again, and the next month you do it again. And you'll be shocked every month at how you'll find additional things that you hadn't cut out before, okay, as your mindset changes. So now that you've done that, second thing is you play red light, green light. Red light, green light is simply an idea that says, or a way of approaching revenue and expenses. And that is, now that you've got your expenses in alignment with your revenue, you'll incrementally begin to allow your budget to go back up based upon the green light, meaning it's working. When I spend $1, I get something in return. If after a month or 2 months that additional expenditure isn't getting what you want, red light, bam, stop. Stop right now. Quit doing that. A good example would be hiring someone and asking them to do work for you. They better be doing the work. If after a week or 2 weeks they're not doing the work, red light. After a month they're not doing the work, red light. You don't just keep writing checks. You have to get the acceptable answers or acceptable work or the acceptable outcomes that you need from every dollar you spend right now, more than ever before. One of the ways you get cost creep is when times are good, people relax a little bit and go, boy, I really always wanted to do this in my business. I always wondered if I ran this ad or spent this money or did these things, would that work? And so they just loosely do it, and they don't tightly manage it. So you're going to do that. And the last thing you're going to do is you're going to spend by leading with revenue, and you're going to grow by the cost-plus business investment approach, meaning that you're only going to let you're going to spend a little additional money, and then you're not going to spend any more money until your revenue matches and exceeds that. And I don't mean just the amount of money to cover the cost. I mean cover the cost plus additional money that goes into your pocket. And you're going to continually play that game.
And Gary, we've seen this play out a few times. The real opportunity, the first person to get back to that financial equilibrium where the revenues above their expenses, they can start disrupting the market.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, so tactic number 3, do more with less.
Well, what happens is now that you got your mindset on and you've gotten control of your expenses, if you're a top agent, you have someone that you've hired. You've got someone else that's working with you. Most likely, they're not as efficient as they should be. They're not as effective as they should be. And this is an opportunity. In other words, when a shift occurs, or you want to shift your career to another level, then it's going to be organization. It's going to be the people around you. So a market shift could be an opportunity to evaluate the people you have and the way you're doing things. You're going to upgrade your systems, and you're going to top grade your business. And this is kind of the unsolicited gift of the shift, in that you're going to come out of this with more efficient and better responsive ways of doing things, tighter ways, and you're going to also have more effective people.
And when you say people, a lot of people on this call are probably independent contractors. It's not just employees, it's their vendors, right?
No, great point, Jay. That's exactly right. Again, we start off thinking in terms of the people that we employ directly, but also realize that if it's vendors, we write checks to them as well, indirectly write checks to them as well. And they could be more efficient, they could be more effective. We talk about this in depth in the book, but there's tremendous amount of things that they could do that they could do better to help you.
That's right. The title company, the loan officer, they can keep your transactions together that you work so hard to get, so they can cost you revenue.
And we make this suggestion at the very end of the book, but when we get to one of the last towards the end of the tactics. But right here, it's well worth saying that what you need to do is sit down and identify if it's mortgage, title, inspectors. Those 3 are big ones. Have weekly meetings with them. Do it by phone if you need to, right? Get a conference call going where every Monday morning you get on the phone with these 3 individuals, or if it's multiple mortgage companies or multiple titles, you get them all on the phone. And you have a 30-minute team meeting, and you talk about ways to cut costs, ways to do things more efficiently, ways to get things done. What are the trouble and problem spots that we're seeing? All of that is getting them in alignment and asking, how can we save people money? How can we save me money? How can we do things better?
That's right. And so when it comes back to the organization, we've got this focus on the basics, the business priorities.
Well, and that comes down to 4 straightforward questions, and that is knowing what your business priorities are, when they need to get done, who's the best person to do them, and how should they be done. And this all goes back to the first question, and that is, what are my business priorities? In the real estate business, what we understand is that we have 6 core competencies that we do. We lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. We present to buyers and sellers and get agreements. We show buyers and we market sellers. We write and negotiate contracts. We coordinate the sales to closings, and we manage the money. It's interesting, though, if I were to ask a real estate agent, just chatting, and say, what do you do?
Oh, gosh, they would talk a lot about sometimes 2 through 5 in a big way.
They would, absolutely. Well, they do it. I would say 9 out of 10 real estate agents that I visit with, when I say, tell me about your business, or tell me what business you're in, they usually describe it in 2, 3, 4, and 5. The truth is that it's 1 and 6. In other words, the business aspect is lead generating, capturing, and converting. If you don't do number 1 very well, you won't have much number 6 to manage.
Right.
So the truth of the matter is that you're actually in number 1. You can literally delegate to some degree 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the problem is when you major in the thing you're proudest of is how well you do 2, 3, 4, and 5, which you should do very well, by the way. But when you're proudest of that, you need to realize that can all be hired away at $40,000 to $50,000 a year, or $30,000, $35,000 a year, even in some markets, a year to be done. I could hire someone for $35,000 to $45,000 a year, Jay, to present buyers and present to sellers, to show buyers and market sellers, to write negotiate contracts for any close. I actually can do that. I can get an administrative person, and they can actually do that very well.
At a very high level.
Well, they can. They can. Truth of the matter is number one is where all the money is generated. If you don't master number one, you're not going to have much of 2, 3, 4, and 5 to do, and you're not going to have much to manage in number 6.
The way we discussed it in our first book is, think about your dollars per hour when you wear each of those hats. You make the most money in number 1.
Yeah, that's right. So what happens is that with leverage, you top grade people and you upgrade systems. Now, the question is in what order? And I would say that you upgrade the people first, top grade the people first, and then you ask them to upgrade the systems. The things that always drive me nuts is when real estate agents say, I need a system. And if you don't have anybody that reports to you directly like an admin person, you don't need systems. You need more leads.
Right.
And if you have lots of leads and you're doing lots of deals, you don't need more systems. You need to hire someone, and they need more systems. So my answer to them is you personally will never need more systems. You don't need systems. What you need is to lead generate. And when you have more leads and buyers and sellers than you can handle because things are getting messy, then you need to hire someone, part-time or full-time, and they need systems. You will never need systems.
And when you hire the right person, they won't ask you to let it go. They'll make you let it go. They'll say, you know what, let me do the system and you focus. And that's the right person to have.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, so let's get down to the heart of the matter here. Lead generation, your first priority.
Sure. So we've done tactics 1, 2, and 3, and we look up and we say, okay, I've got the right mindset. I have absolutely managed my expenses as tightly as I need to. And I believe I have the right people internally and externally on my team, and I believe that they have the right systems. If you've done all of that, and that's not hard to do, and you should be able to do that fast, then we turn to, without a doubt, overall, the overriding tactic that drives everything, and that is you got to lead generate. You just have to. So when a market shifts, what's happened is your goals haven't changed. They're the same. I still need to do X number of deals, make X amount of money. Right. You know what your annual income goal is going to be, and you know the number of sales that you have to close to hit it. What has changed is the number of appointments that you're going to have to go on. Do you get that? See, your goals haven't changed. Nothing's changed. You still have to make the same amount of money. You have to do the same number of deals, or maybe even more deals, given your average price may have changed. End result, though, is you're going to have to go on more appointments. A market shift means more appointments. End of discussion. Write it down. Post it as a note over your desk. Put it in your wallet. Put it in your purse, wherever. A market shift is a shift in the number of appointments you're going to have to go on and the number of leads it's going to take to get those appointments.
Right, because buyers like urgency, sellers like motivation, so you need more of them to find the ones who work.
Yeah. A study was done by a group in Florida, and it was done over 8 weeks by a group of top producers in a very shifted market in Florida. And what you can see on the screen is the results that was tracked by that group. And we thought it fascinating enough and accurate enough to report it. In the end, what it showed was 33 contacts equal 1 closing. They made 846 contacts over an 8-week period, and they ended up with 44 contracts written. And at the end of the 8 weeks, 25 of them had closed.
What's interesting when we talk about more effort, Gary, when we did the research for the Millionaire Real Estate Agent back in 2002, 2003, that ratio was different, wasn't it? It was about 24 to 1. So it's requiring 30% more effort to get the same results, at least.
Yeah, and I would even think, Jay, that today that might even be 40 contacts or more to get one sale. I would even challenge the number 33 just a little bit, to be honest. Right. I think we may have doubled it, what we saw in the original Millionaire Real Estate Agent research. It's a lot. It means double the effort.
Right.
If you're making one call, you make two. If you're making 100, you make 200. If you were making 200, you make 400. Otherwise, your income is going to suffer. It's into that. Now, when you break lead generation down to its simple, basic, foundational concept, there's only two things. We call it the two M's.
Right.
Right.
Your message and your method.
Mm-hmm. Your message and your method. So let's deal with message first. Your message, and this is true no matter what. Right? We can step aside, and we don't have to talk about a shifted market. When you're out lead generating, the first thing is what message are you communicating, and second, what's the method you're using to communicate it. The message has to match your market, and it has to be. You have to make an offer. Okay. Your market is going to be, I assume, a targeted audience, so it's going to have to acknowledge that. It could be first-time home buyers, let's say, and the market conditions, well, here they are. The market is shifted, but interest rates are amazingly low, and prices are amazingly low. So if you're a first-time home buyer and could afford to buy, the market conditions are very favorable. If you were talking to a for sale by owner, your communication needs to match the for sale by owner. You need to learn the scripts and dialogues of that. But you need to recognize the market conditions are very tough, very different.
It's historic on both sides. It's historically good opportunity for the first timer, and it's historically challenger for the do-it-yourselfer.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And the second thing is that you have to make an offer. And this is where most agents really mess up. They don't make offers. I don't know why. They just don't make offers. They talk. They skate around the issues, but they don't make offers. I want real estate agents making offers. I want you to either make direct offers or indirect offers. Direct offer would be, hi, Jay, I'm Gary Keller. Would you like to sell your home? Hi, Jay, I'm Gary Keller. Have you and your wife considered buying a home in today's market? Okay. Have you considered trading up? So a direct offer is a direct message about buying or selling. Direct meaning that whatever answer they give you will either directly lead to business or not, but it's very direct. An indirect offer, the most famous one of that is the free CMA, the free competitive market analysis, which is an indirect offer.
Or get my report, the 12 mistakes that home sellers make, right?
Exactly.
You're going indirectly. You're not asking for the business, but you're trying to get them to raise their hand and say, I'm actually in the market.
Yeah, the thing about indirect offers is at some point they have to go direct.
Right. Yeah, you get the indirect to get them in the kitchen, and then you have to go direct.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, you have to.
Let's talk a little bit about the method, Gary.
Sure. Well, there's only two methods, and that's prospecting and marketing. A lot of people get these words all confused. They say, hey, I need to market. And you say, do you need market or you mean lead generation?
Mm-hmm.
And they go, oh, well, I meant lead generation. Yeah, lead generation has two components, Jay, prospecting and marketing. Prospecting is when you go out and you simply approach people directly. Marketing is when you try to get people to approach you.
So prospecting is knocking on doors, it's calling your past clients, it's one-on-one communication. Marketing is a billboard, it's an advertisement, it's something that gets them to call you.
Yeah, that's it.
All right?
That's exactly right. Now, what I want you to understand, and this is truly the trick of it all, and now let's go back to mindset for a second. This is where I want people to set their mind. When we talk about having the discipline or having the focus to be successful at a high level, what I'm really talking about is time blocking at least 3 hours every day. And I would prefer to see it before noon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine to go to 1 o'clock because the noon hour can be a flex time for a lot of people, but I don't want to see it past that. I want to see before 1 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday, and it could be Saturday in this market as well. I want to see a time block to prepare your lead generation, practice your scripts and dialogues. Then I want you to go do them and take the actions, send your marketing pieces out, and then I want you to maintain your database. I want you to get the contacts, and I want you to keep all of that working. And I need you to do that at least 3 hours, maybe even 4 hours in this market.
And why in the morning, Gary?
Well, this is a study that I read back in when I just got out of college, Jay, and it was a sales study. It wasn't a real estate study. It was a sales study. But what they reported, and I've experienced this to be accurate, is that twice as many sales occur before noon as in after. So between the hours of 6 a.m. and 12 noon, twice as many sales occur in that 6 hours as they do in the 12 hours between noon and midnight. So you're getting twice as much in half the time. So what we know, and there's another reason, which may be the reason why this happens, what we also know is that people tend to wake up in the morning and give themselves the luxury of believing they have all day.
Right.
So they don't feel pressed and hurried in the morning. When I left for work this morning, my son, who's home from college, was dancing and singing. Now, he had a list of chores to do, but I can guarantee you he believed he had all day to do them.
Right.
We'll get to 5 o'clock and we'll see how he's done, right?
And the problem with that is the later in the day you get, the more brush fires that can erupt and the more you can get your time sniped.
Well,
right?
Yes, you can control your hours in the day better in the morning. In the afternoon, it's tough. I mean, most people have asked me because I give the perception of being very disciplined, and I'm not, and I don't try to be. In fact, I'm kind of the anti-disciplined person. What I mean by that is I chose one very specific discipline, and that was to make myself spend 3 to 4 hours a day on the key thing that would drive my business at whatever level my business was I was agent or management or real estate office ownership or in building Keller Williams International, is always the same. I tried to be focused and manage my time very tightly around 3 to 4 hours before noon, 1 o'clock, that on the things that had to be done, and then I simply let myself go with whatever needed to be done after that.
Right. It's making an appointment with yourself. When someone says, what are you doing that time? You say, you know what? I'm already booked. How about after that afternoon?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, Gary, I think we're at a point right now where we need to invite Mel and Deb back in, so I think we have an announcement to make from one of our sponsors.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Gary. Actually, I got a great praise for you, Gary and Jay. Aggie says, I'm loving this. Thank you so much.
Did you know that you can be seen by over 5.5 million home buyers monthly when you have a Homes.com agent profile? Did you know you can get that free? Sign up at myhomes.com today and list your 5 coverage areas in their agent directory. Then start talking with home buyers and sellers in your area looking for you in the new Homes.com questions and answers community. Stick around after Gary and Jay. We'll walk you through getting set up. Number one expert agents outsell other agents 14 to 1. Number one expert websites generate over 46 leads a month. The number one expert credential and website is exclusive to top selling agents only. Give them a call to see if you qualify, or visit the new numberoneexpert.com/join, and you can chat and ask about guaranteed lead and enhanced graphic packages and the new Diamond Number One Expert. If you don't qualify, well, you might want to try Advanced Access. They serve more real estate agents than any other website provider. Why? Over 150 website templates, a flash slideshow builder for stunning presentations, listing syndication and lead capturing, and their search internet marketing service. Advanced Access Websites, the perfect way to grow your real estate business online. eNeighborhoods knows that your one-on-one time with prospects and clients is the time to differentiate yourself. Make every presentation better with rich local information in printable reports on your website, blog, or now on your Apple or Android mobile device. As they say, walk in with eNeighborhoods and walk out with a new client. Our final sponsor offers a product that will give you premium placement on Google as well as guaranteed leads. Power Search from Agent Advantage offers premium Google placement for maximum visibility, high conversion landing pages with integrated IDX listings, and most importantly, guaranteed lead packages to fit any budget.
Over to you again, Jay and Gary.
Thanks so much.
Sure.
All right, let's hit Tactic 5. So we now need to get to the table. It's lead conversion. The issue that you have here is if you do lead generation but you don't get a name and a number, it's no good. Yeah. If you get a name and number but you can't get an appointment, it's no good. So as important as lead generating activities are, if you can't get a name and number and ultimately an appointment, what have you really accomplished?
You've met a lot of new people and made a lot of new friends, but you won't be getting business from it.
So we got to lead generate and we have to convert to an appointment. And if we don't, it's a tandem. And it happens in tandem. We talk about it separately, but it actually happens all along the way. You're setting the tone for that when you're lead generating. You're converting all along the way, essentially.
And the thing we know about appointments, Gary, which is why we put so much focus on it, is that your rate of return, your rate of success goes through the roof when you have that appointment to discuss business.
Yeah, that's right.
It goes from like a 2% success rate, like on a marketing campaign, to now better than 50-50.
Yeah. The trick there is you got to do 3 things, Jay, to get an appointment. You have to capture the lead and their information. You have to connect with them, and then you have to close for an appointment. So we have to do these three things at all times.
What do you mean by connect, Gary? I mean, capture I get, close I get. We don't talk about connect so much.
Well, it's really going to be in the tone. It's going to be in the way you handle yourself. It's going to be in a couple of subtle questions you ask Jay in order for them to feel comfortable with you. Capturing is one thing, and getting their name and their contact information. Connecting is for them to begin to believe, hey, I like this person. I think I might be willing to consider visiting with them further.
And the irony is, the best agents ask great questions. It's not them talking to bond. They're listening to bond.
Thank you for saying that. That's right. Capturing and connecting and closing are all three questioning. It's not, I ask a question to capture, now let me talk and connect. And most people think that selling is telling, but selling is asking.
That's right.
The person who doesn't ask the questions is the one who's not going to succeed.
Well, we can have a little fun here because a lot of people out there who think that they don't want to close, they don't want to offend, there's a million ways to do it.
Well, there are, and you have to practice them, Jay. You have to get really, really good at them. When we were writing this section, we didn't have to go to anybody. We knew these. We just wrote them down.
That's right. You've done your scripts and dialogue. So let's just run through them. The hard close.
Yeah, let's meet.
The soft close.
Well, I've really enjoyed visiting with you, Jay. Would you like to get together to discuss this further?
The direct close.
Hey, Jay, can we meet today?
The indirect close.
Hey, Jay, would it be okay if I got you some information to look over and then we could get back later to discuss?
How about a trial close?
Yeah. Well, Jay, have we gone over enough today that meeting would be our next step?
The assumptive close.
Yeah, it sounds, Jay, it sounds like we ought to meet. I'm available most times this week, so what might work best for you?
The negative positive close.
Hey, would you be offended if I asked if we could meet to go over this? Let me just stop for a second. That probably has been my most successful one over the years. Jay, would you be offended if I ask you? Jay, I don't want to offend you, but at the risk of that, could I just ask you this question? Or I don't want to offend you, but could I ask if we could just meet to go over this? The reason this was so successful is the question that they hear is, would you be offended?
Right.
And when they say no, what they've actually just agreed to do is whatever I wanted to ask them to do.
So it's not, how would you like to go over this? It's, would you be offended? Because
would you be offended if I ask you if we could go over this? And they go, no, I wouldn't be offended, and say, great, what time would you like to meet to go over it? And that it just works like a charm.
All right, well, how about the take-back close?
Jay, I've really enjoyed visiting with you today. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I can be of help or not. But I'd be honored if we could meet and visit and find out. Would that be okay?
Get them to chase you just a little bit. All right, the tie-down close.
Hey, Jay, wouldn't it make sense for us to meet in the next day or so?
And finally, the alternate choice close.
Yeah, Jay, what works best for you? Would meeting today, sometime this afternoon, or tomorrow morning be better?
And really, Gary, it's funny, you went through those when we were writing them. You rattled them off from all of your scripts and dialogues, but there's 100 ways to go about it, right?
Yeah, these are kind of what you call the 10 classic closes. If you didn't have any other source, I would suggest that you take these 10 right here and do what I did back when I was 22 years old. You go lock yourself in a room with someone else, and you actually ask someone these questions, right? You play with these closes. And you say, okay, I'm going to practice the alternative choice close 50 times with you this morning.
Right.
And I know that sounds extreme. I know it. I know that anyone listening right now is going, holy cow, do what? But I am telling you that what we do as professionals is we provide service. And if you take away the driving around in a car service, everything else we do is a communication service. And if you don't practice being an awesome communicator, your service is not going to be as great as you're imagining that it is. And the way that you get great at it is you practice. And you practice on cadavers. You don't need to practice on live patients.
That's right.
You need to go get in a room with someone else, and every day, let's say that you've time blocked 9 until 1 every day, and this is when you're going to work on lead generation. Well, I highly recommend that you have a partner, or it's a staff member. I don't care who it is. And for 15 to 30 minutes every day, you practice this. Because here's what's going to happen to you, because it happens to me my whole career. You practice this for that 15 to 30 minutes, you'll be so revved up, you'll be raring to go talk to real people to see how it works. And you'll be coming back going, hey, let me tell you what happened. Hey, let me tell you what happened. Let's practice this because I got caught.
Right.
And I need to figure out how to get out of that. And here's what they said. Let's work on that. Over time, you get really good at leading people to make decisions. Remember, we're not trying to talk people into doing something that they don't want to do. In all my years of sales management, Jay, I've never once had a buyer call me and say, you tricky devil, you're so slick. My wife and I, we moved into that house, and we just chuckle every night going, boy, he was so slick, he just talked us right into this house. We weren't even going to buy a home, and now we own 4. He's amazing. It doesn't happen. And we also have never had the phone call where the seller called us up and said, you know what, you were so slick, you made us sell that house. You just talked us into it, you silver-tongued devil. It never happens. This irrational fear that you're going to be so good at these closes, that you're going to be talking people into doing things that they don't want to do, I don't know where you even get that mental thought, but it appears to exist in the heads of most people. A, you're never going to be that good, baby. And number 2, that's not what you're trying to do anyway. You're trying to get people to make decisions. See, I don't care if you say a yes or a no. I don't care if you buy or don't buy. I don't care if you sell or don't sell, because that's about your life, not mine. What I need you to do is to make a decision. So if you're going to do it, let's do it. If you're not going to do it, you know when you are, have a better idea of that, and I can move on and work with someone else who actually does need or want to do it today.
That's right. You're helping them discover, and you discover if they're able, willing, and ready to make the next move.
That's it.
And the answer can be yes or no.
That's it.
But now we know, and we move forward.
Yeah, that's it.
Funny is the closes, that translates directly to what we are going to be doing on the web.
Well, and that would be the big issue in the end, and that is, when you look at the internet, so many people wanted to say right off the bat, hey, I work with internet buyers, or I work with internet sellers or whatever else. And I think we've come to understand today that there's no such thing as internet people.
Yeah, when 95% plus of your buyers are first seeing their home on the internet or working on the internet, you don't have internet buyers anymore. You just have buyers.
Yeah, thank you.
I would start talking about the minority who are non-internet buyers and trying to figure them out.
Yeah, and the reason why we set this up as its own separate tactic is because it requires a little additional systematic work and focus than any other lead generation tactic. So we set it aside just for that reason, and to draw attention to it. It's not complicated to have a great website. You need to have it professionally designed. You definitely need to have points of contact on it, and you need to have some sort of compelling domain name that is appropriate for what you're trying to do.
When we talk about professional design, I'll just add to that, I like to think about it as your listing. You want it clean, you want it uncluttered, and not too much personal stuff, Gary. Yeah. People have pictures of their dogs and 1,000 links. That's not what they're there for. They're there to look at houses.
Well, here's what they're there to do. It just needs to look professional, but the truth is it needs to have properties. It needs to have all the properties. It needs to allow people to put in a search, and if anything comes up that matches their criteria, it needs to notify them. And if they have searches, they need to be able to save them. So for buyers, that's what they want. I'm not so sure we're ever going to see them want anything else, Jay.
And those, by the way, I agree completely, Gary, are your lead capture points.
Yeah, that's right.
When they want to look at more properties or get a safe search is when they give you their contact information.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a second. That's exactly right. Now, there's secondary issues, and that's the content, community, neighborhood, schools, home buying process. But it's definitely secondary. Let's be real clean about that. That matters, and it's important, and people say it is. But they rank it much lower than they rank the 3 tools we mentioned.
That's right. They're there to see the properties, and those are the tools.
Absolutely.
What about sellers?
Well, again, sellers don't go on the web usually to buy a house. They're looking to sell theirs, and home value request is going to be the number 1 tool that they're going to want you to have. And what's going to matter to them is going to be market statistics. That's going to be the issue, where they can kind of do their own informal valuation, analysis before they need a pro to and that's where you would offer the stats, and sporadically through the stats, you would ping them or give them points of being able to request a home value.
Yeah, would you like to have a personalized home valuation versus the generic one? Right, an offer to get them.
Yeah, that's right. Well, when you look at a website strategy, the way we looked at it was you have offline offers and online offers. There are things that you're doing offline to send people to your website, and they're also, for instance, you could easily have it on your for sale signs. You could have it on your business card. If you had a unique domain name, you could be doing that, like foreclosureseattle.com, that type of thing. Online offers are, without a doubt, when you do the research from the agents who are making the most amount of money from the web, it's online. They're using what we call thin bait online offers.
They're driving people to the site, and the thing that's so powerful about it is that it scales really high. If you want to run a really, really big business, there are a few lead generation sources that scale big.
Yeah.
So you can make offers to FSBOs, to REO properties, to any number of clients out there, drive them to your website, and then capture them there.
Mm-hmm. Online offers from Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
You could do pay-per-clicks. You can do search engine optimization. There are a variety of things that you can do, and it's all been done before, by the way.
Right.
It's
people were offering, register here for my Best Buy list. They did that in the newspaper before they did it online, but it still works because people want to see the Best Buys.
Yeah, what we have today is we have millionaire internet agents that are truly netting $1 million in net income from simply using the internet. This is no longer the Wild Wild West in terms of understanding how we take a web strategy and make it work. We're going to make offers to people. We're going to pull them into our sites, and usually those offers are about information.
Right.
It's here. I have information that you need. Come to my site to get it. The best sites that we know of in terms of the fat bait are once you get to the site, they'll let you see, let's say, one property and everything on it for free. Note that you look at one house, you get to see the
20 photographs, every detail.
Oh, virtual tour, whatever it is, all the detail, all the information, school, everything you need. The second that the buyer or seller, whoever, tries to see a second one, you got to register.
Right.
So there's just a simple example. Now, I know some people that just have the registration on the front end.
Right.
Hey, welcome to my site, register.
I know some people who have made it be virtually open. They're trying to get a different kind of traffic and then make offers once they're there. So it is a choice you make.
Yeah, I think the one that, when I do my research, the one that I like the best is bring them in, let them play around, let them see at least one property and see everything in it, and then they have to register after that or they need to go away.
Yeah, 1 to 3 properties. I've heard it from a lot of those top agents.
Yeah, and that works the best.
Well, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about pricing and how important that is in a shifted market.
Well, it's everything. Pricing is everything. What happens is you want your seller to be what we call ahead of the market. And sellers want to be ahead of the market whether the market's going up or it's going down, but it's very different. If the market was going up, being ahead of the market, you could actually, let's say a home was selling for $200,000, the seller could say, well, I'd like to get $205,000. And they could just put it there, and the market would, within a period of time, might get to $205,000, and that'd be okay if that's what they want to do. You just take a 1-year listing agreement or whatever it is. On the flip side, when prices are dropping, you don't want to follow it all the way to the bottom, Jay. What you want to do is get one step ahead of it.
That's right, because that's what it looks like they do these little price corrections and they end up chasing it all the way down.
Well, what they end up doing is they price it based upon what is being offered today instead of what just sold. And when you're getting ahead of the market, you want to be pricing based on the selling price, not the asking prices. You want to be the next house that sells, which means at any point in time, you want to be the lowest price in the market.
I hear you. One of the people we talked about said that there was actually a tale of two markets. One of the people we interviewed for Shift. Mm-hmm. There were some houses that were in the market and they were selling quickly, and there were some houses that were out of the market and they weren't getting any showings or offers.
Well, and the out of the market is when you're priced at or above where the market is, and you've got the poorest condition. Your home shows the worst. When you're in the market, that means you are significantly below everything else people are asking, and you are in great, perfect, or as good as you can be condition. The problem we've got with sellers is getting them to be brave enough to trust us, to understand they've got to be a little below what everyone else is asking today if they want to be the next one that sells. That's the trick. And most sellers just go, well, come on. And you go, look, we've got hundreds, or maybe even in some cases hundreds and hundreds of listings for sale. If you're not serious, take it off the market. Let's stay in contact, and I'll give you the market data every month, and we'll have a conversation. But you're actually hurting the market by doing this, or you're helping the guy who will price his correctly. You're helping him sell.
You're selling the house down the street, right? Because you haven't acknowledged reality.
Yeah.
The way I've heard some of the top agents we talk to describe it as, you'll know that your price is in the ballpark and kind of when you start getting showings. But you only know that when you're actually in the market when you get offers. So what's really deadly is that no man's land. When you're close to the market and you're getting showings and you're selling that house down the street.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, that jumps us to the next tactic 8, and that is staging. And they go hand in hand, right? One is the price, the other is the
condition.
The condition. And the truth is that price is the number one issue in getting a house sold, but it's priced based on condition. So condition is never out of that equation, Jay. They're always irrevocably intertwined. Price right means price right for what you get, and overpriced means overpriced for what you get.
That's how buyers determine value.
Yeah, that's it. And there's a simple formula for it. And the way I explain it to people is, look, take the seller, go out into the front yard, and treat the house as if there are zones, and say the first zone is the first drive-up appearance.
Right, the curb appeal.
Yeah. So stand there and simply say, are there any plantings, paint, any sort of pictures, wouldn't apply on the outside necessarily, fixtures, or any furnishings that either need to stay or go, right, or upgrade it. Then you walk into the entryway, the second zone. Then you move into the living room. You go to the kitchen. You go to the bedrooms. You go to the backyard. And you go through these zones, and every time you just ask the question, any plantings, paint, pictures, fixtures, furnishings, what applies? 3 Ps, 2 Fs. And let them tell you. And if you need help, then you put them in a car and you drive them to the last house that sold.
Right. And if you let them see the difference.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They can self-discover what's wrong with their house.
Absolutely. One of the most effective things to do. Put them in the car. Let's go.
All right, let's talk about buyer urgency. This is deadly because when the market's descending, everybody thinks they have time to wait.
Well, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's called a buyer's market for a reason, which means buyers should be buying. And it's so what's funny is they're not. And you go, well, is it a buyer's market or not? And that's one of the simple scripts that you use with people. You say, let me ask you a question, Jay. Given everything that you've heard about the market, would you say this is a buyer's market or a seller's market?
Well, I guess I'd have to say it's a buyer's market.
So you're ready to buy?
Well, yeah, I guess we need to talk about that.
Well, see,
right?
That's the thing. Yeah. See, what we have agents doing is they're not getting people to say what they actually know, and they have to say it in order to buy into it, right? And that's the way you would say it. And if you're talking to a seller, and you would say, do you think this is a buyer's market or seller's market?
I guess the evidence is declaring this is a buyer's market.
So why are you selling?
Well, actually, because I need to move and buy.
There you go. So what we need to focus on is the buying opportunity. This is not a huge selling opportunity, Jay, for you. But as you just admitted, it is a buying opportunity. So we need to get this home sold as soon as possible so that we can then take advantage of what?
The opportunity to trade up and get a better value.
Sure, we'll talk about, and we can talk about that, the different opportunities there. Well, this is another simple little example you use with people. What they don't understand is that you can't time the market. Timing finds you, and that's a script. And you ask people, do you believe that you can time the market? And they go, well, no. Well, the truth is that timing always happens after the fact, meaning you don't know. In the way that I would describe it to people, I say, get a pencil out, or just stick your thing in the air at the height of your arm, and start dropping your hand and just ask people, when I get to the bottom of the market, tell me. And the answer is they won't know you've hit the bottom until your hand starts going back up. And then you say, okay, now tell me when we've hit the top. And they won't be able to tell you that until after you've headed back down. And your point to them is, you see, you can't even time it. Right. In a simple example, you can't time it. You don't know what's fixing to happen. So it's called a safe zone. And that is, once you've seen it drop, you're there. Once you've seen it head back up, you're there.
Right.
Okay, you're safe. You're fine.
And all the evidence, and we do the research every month, historically homes have gone up at 4%. We're way in the safe zone right now. People are getting a bargain of a lifetime right now.
In the United States and Canada, almost everywhere, I haven't heard of any that's not. You're in the safe zone right now. Yeah. You're already in a position that, given the interest rates and given what's happening to pricing, that if you wanted to buy and your hold horizon was at least 7 years, you should buy. Okay?
Well, and that's what we're talking about, I guess, in number one. When you understand the market numbers, where the market is heading and where it's been, you can help give them qualified real estate advice.
Well, the number one way that you help energize buyers' urgency is not by talking them into anything. The truth is, number 2 and 3 are we can talk about those, but it's actually number 1, meaning that they trust you. And the way that you do that is you become their local economist of choice, meaning you begin to provide your farm, FSBOs, expires. It wouldn't matter. People you meet for the first time, your entire database. You provide them with economic information such that over time, they're actually getting their thinking from you, not the newspaper and not the TV and not at the coffee pot at work. All of it is erroneous, Jay. It's all erroneous. The way I know this, just as a simple example, is I get on a regular basis, I get interviewed by some publication. And I'm not talking about trade publications because they get the industry. They get it right. I'm talking about newspapers, magazines, TV.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, they never get it right. They never get it right. What I mean by that is that later if I'll be talking to other people they interviewed about me on something, they'll invariably say, well, that was a nice article, but, they didn't quote me correctly. And they say it every time, Jay. After a while, I began to realize, hold it, I'm doing my own little survey of accuracy with the media here, meaning that I've never had an interview done with me in my entire life by the media, not our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Our industry gets it and reports it correctly. But I'm talking about the media at large. Jay, they never get it right because they don't understand it. And they're always looking for the simple things that they understand, so they usually get the complex things totally wrong. So we know that if our buyers and sellers are getting their economic information from the media, they're getting it wrong.
Well, the thing that I see all the time that they get wrong is they start calling it a buyer's market. And they make it innately an emotional market, whereas every market is either buyers or sellers and it has an opportunity. It's just a fundamental misunderstanding of there is no such thing as a purely bad market.
Well, that's exactly right. Number 2, tapping into their big why. That's okay. Just tapping into their why, which the issue there is revisiting why are they buying? Why are they selling? Getting people to be very clear and crisp about why they're doing it. Because when people are clear about their motivation, they'll make decisions. It's when they're fuzzy about it that they won't.
All right, and what about buyer reluctance? We have actually a couple of strategies here that we can run through and just kind of hit them at a high level.
Well, the truth of the matter is that these are self-explanatory, Jay. The why wait, the hazards of timing the market are simply the issue of getting people to anticipate what will happen over time. And the one that they take for granted is interest rates.
That's right.
What they believe is that they have all the time in the world. But you have to do the math on that. If you wait and prices go up, I'm going to say prices stay the same, but interest rates go up, you've negated the whole point of waiting for prices to go lower.
That's right, Gary. A 1% rise in interest rates is the same as a 10% increase in home payments if you look at the mortgage payment.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, and then trade up, of course, we already know the opportunity there. The opportunity of the down market is sell low but buy lower. So the truth of the matter is that if you were selling a $100,000 house but buying a $200,000 house, you actually made money on that, given if both markets were down.
Yeah, if they're both depressed by 10%, you're getting money on paper when you trade up.
Yeah, and then the less is more is simply don't confuse people. One of the reasons that people have reluctance is they get confused. So narrow it down and don't try to show them everything. That just confuses people. And the last one is help them understand what the best buys are based on their values.
That's right. You're narrowing it down so they can actually make a decision instead of just be confused.
Yeah.
All right, Gary, we've got 3 tactics left, and we're heading towards the Q&A. Let's just kind of talk about what is the most important thing that we would need to say about these last couple that we're going through.
Well, Tactic 10 doesn't overly apply today, Jay. I put it in there because over the years it has applied. Today, we have financing. We have tighter lending restrictions in the United States than in Canada right now. It's getting tougher, but creative financing is not there yet. So that really doesn't apply.
That's right. So let's take a look really quickly here and go to tactic 11. And this is, wow, the market of the moment, which is huge. It's a seminar unto itself.
Well, yeah, and the truth here is that every market has a market of the moment. Good times have market of the moments. Tough times have markets of the moments. And those markets of the moments vary, and they can be national, they can be statewide, they can be county, they can be city, they can be neighborhood. So you just need to always say that market of the moment is the market of opportunity, Jay. In the U.S., that would be short sales, foreclosures, and REOs. And the big one that keeps getting bigger and bigger is short sales.
Right.
And all we need to say about that is go learn it. Go take a survey, go take a study, go hang out with someone, figure out the basics. On Agent Mountain with Keller Williams, we have tons of audio interviews with short sales masters that just lay out in detail exactly how you do short sales. It's not complicated.
Yeah, these are the evergreen ones in the U.S. And the other one that showed up, and it was as a matter of government intervention, was first-time home buyers. The tax credit was a massive market of the moment when it was there.
It was.
And it's still there for military home buyers.
Well, investors and bargain hunters are also today markets of the moment.
That's right. Investors are huge right now. This is the opportunity for them. All right, so the last one, we've done all this work to get a buyer. We get a contract closed. We've got to get it closed, right?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right.
So we've got an attitude issue. You know, what's the attitude you adopt, Gary?
Well, I want you to do number 4, which is everything will go wrong. I do not want you to put your head in the sand and think nothing will happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to engage on everything to make sure it stays together.
Well, again, I got in the market in 1979. Interest rates went crazy. We had sellers having to pay points, blah, blah, blah. It all gets worked out, and then other things happen. From the very beginning of my career, Jay, I just believed that if it can go wrong, it will go wrong, because that's what I was experiencing. And so, yeah, it does make me a little of a black hat. I walk around and I just assume, it's going to go wrong. I used to have a basic philosophy, and it was the normal person's response. And I developed this when I was 22 years old, because if I said good morning to you and you said good morning back, that was normal. But if I said good morning to you and you didn't say anything back, that wasn't normal, and that was a sign. And if you were a buyer or seller of mine, I don't need to go any further. I need to stop, and I need to listen hard and ask more questions to figure it out. And that's my overriding view about all this, is that there's a normal path to getting a transaction closed. If at any point it raises its ugly head, that may, with people behaving inappropriately or not normally, abnormally, if you would, slowing it down or not returning a call or not responding to an email, whatever they're doing, my gosh, that's not normal. Stop. You got a problem. Now, there are 6 key areas where deals can fall apart. Inspections and repairs. You better be there. Right. You have to be on spot. You have to be after. And by the way, sometimes you'll end up carrying the other agent.
Right.
Because they just aren't going to do the work. And I don't care. You do it. The appraisals, we have big issues here. Again, however you can meet with the appraiser, however you can give them the data and the information, however you can be available, you got to. Loan approval and funding, you've got to stay in contact from the get-go all the way through on funding, on loan approval and funding. And I don't care if you represent the seller. It doesn't matter. You better be involved. You better be getting, all the information on a regular basis, and listen hard to what they tell you. Are they saying yes, or are they saying maybe? And you need, if it's a maybe, you need to.
And you're going to time down. So I'm going to get that information tomorrow, right, Gary?
Well, we're going to try.
Well, try. Well, when will I get it? When can I actually get it, right? So
go.
You're going to get an absolute on everything on the line.
Yeah, or you're going to have to talk to someone else.
That's right.
You're going to go get, I want to talk to someone else. You want to talk to someone else in the organization. Any contingencies that are occurring whatsoever. Again, we talk about the co-op agent. You're going to pay attention. 9 out of 10 times, you're going to do some of their work for them.
And if they're offended, it's too bad, right? You're looking out for the deal.
Yeah, watch for deadlines. We put them in there, and in normal times, deadlines don't seem that onerous. But in tough times, be very careful about putting unrealistic deadlines and have your contracts blow up on you.
All right, well, Gary, that's it. That's 12 tactics in breathless rush. But this is my favorite quote from the book, and it's kind of the outcome that comes from this. Success never comes to the chosen few, but the few who choose. Mm-hmm. success in this market is about the people who choose to follow these 12 tactics.
Well, that's it. And honestly, Jay, if you were to ask me what is it I need to choose, I want you to choose 3 to 4 hours a day of time-blocked lead generation where you practice your scripts, work on your offers, and then go spend 3 hours on your methods out there prospecting and marketing to get leads and converting them to appointments. If you'll do that for me, everything else you're going to deal with the other tactics. If you don't do that for me, the other tactics won't matter.
That's right. All right. Well, I think it's time for us to hand it back over to Deb and Mel.
Thank you, Jay. We have a question from Janet, and she wants to know, I want to know if Gary and Jay support lean management companies selling leads. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if they're good quality leads and they're closing, yeah. I think what you have to always ask yourself is, what does it cost for a lead? And what we understand is that you shouldn't be spending more than about 30% or 33% of your income on the cost of sale.
That's right. That's the cost of sale, the leads coming in. So if it's above that, you're paying above market rates for those leads.
Yeah.
There's always a cost. There's a cost to you doing it too. So it's just about making a good decision.
Well, a lot of top agents have even gotten their cost of sale or lead generation cost, Jay, down to around 10%.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've seen some even actually say zero, which is stunning.
Right. They're using Craigslist or they're personally calling FSBOs and expireds, right? That's a time investment. It's not a money investment.
Mm-hmm. So we know that you would pay at least 20% for a good qualified referral. So you know the value of that. The trick there is, do you have to buy the leads and pay for them before you know they're any good or not? So that would be the only trick.
Right.
All right.
So it's red light, green light, right?
Yeah, red light, green light.
Yeah, do it. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't, stop quick.
Gary, how do you deal with a purchaser who says the purchasability will drop 10% with a 1% increase in interest rates? And buyers will say without incomes going up and job creation, prices are going to drop further. Charles Horn is asking that.
Well, there's one of the classic ways I've seen dealing with the idea of insecurity. The first thing I would do as a fiduciary, if someone is truly afraid that they might lose their job, I'd say, well, let's prepare to pull the trigger, and when you're secure in that decision, we'll move up. But they're already paying rent, they're already paying something, and they're not missing those payments. So there's a lot of scripts out there saying, well, you pay rent right now, don't you? Or you're making your mortgage payments now. What makes you think that you wouldn't be able to do that when we move forward? And you ask good questions, and that's kind of the technique there. It's a legitimate concern for a lot of people, but they're already paying rent, and you can probably get a house for less than you're paying in rent now. So it's a great financial decision if you can help ask the right questions to move them past that fear.
Well, I think you have to ask those questions, Jay. I think the other thing that's built into this question and the answer is get more leads. You know, I just remember when I first started my career, and we had the same issues. And, boy, it was tough. I mean, you know, I went through 5 months and had no closings. And I had done 6 deals my first month in the business, and then 5 months and no closings. And the challenge that I had was I was trying to bleed, turnips. And the problem was I needed to find more legitimate people that could do business.
Right.
And they're out there, by the way. They're there. But you're going to have to get your unfair share. Understand that in this kind of situation, some agents aren't going to make it.
That's what we were talking about earlier in the seminar when you were saying, it might not even be 33 calls to get one qualified lead. It might be 50 or 100.
It may be a lot.
To get that lead that you don't have to use that script. They don't have that concern. They are ready to buy and take advantage.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned as my career kept going forward was I wanted to spend less time trying to convince people to do something. What I really wanted to do was help them just think it through, make a great decision, and have enough qualified leads that if it was, no, I don't need to do anything, then great, let's get you into a rental. I think the comment that about buying is, well, aren't you going to be paying someone something to live somewhere?
Yeah, if they're not sleeping on their mom's couch, the answer is yes.
That's right. And please understand that you can buy something comparable today. So if you're afraid of your job, then let's buy something with the eye of maybe it being your first rental. Because that's what you would tell someone who was 24 or 25 years old. They say, should I buy something? Only if you have it buy it to rent it. Don't buy it as a dream home. Don't buy it as your cave to live in. Simply buy it right. Buy the right house in the right location with the right amenities that will rent properly and cash flow.
Right. So if they lose their job, or the 24-year-old decides to go travel around the world because they weren't ready for their job yet,
exactly.
Then they can rent it and have cash flow from it, even if they can't live in it themselves.
Yeah. The other side of this is, in this kind of market, I know this question wasn't asked, usually people that can afford should be buying multiples.
Yeah.
In other words, the way that we're going to get out of this market is by investors and people that can buy more than one. So it's really about, look, I'd like to help. It's really about going and getting the second book that we wrote called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and giving that to someone and saying, I'd like to come back and talk to you about this. Because really in this market, if you have someone who can buy one, they can buy two, they can buy three. Instead of trying to get people to just buy one, find those who can afford it and get them to buy more.
Yep.
Speaking of first-time renters, we got a first-time agent. Brand new agent, Pam, is saying, where do I start? Website setup, marketing, 45-hour post-license course. She's very confused. She's starting to lose her motivation. What's the lifeline to her?
It's real simple. Pam has her license?
I guess so, because she's talking about a post-license course, yes.
Okay, great. Well, then it's real simple. Tomorrow morning, I want to see her no later than 9 o'clock sitting at a desk somewhere with scripts in front of her, practicing those for 30 minutes. And I don't want her to think, should I be doing it or shouldn't I be doing it? If she's not doing it, then she's screwing around. I don't know, basically we need to give her an F, because she's screwing around. She's not doing what the top agents in the world do. So at 9 o'clock, Pam, you're sitting there practicing your scripts and your dialogues and working on how you communicate with people. Number 2, at 9:30, pick your poison. Is it go knock on doors? You can go do that. Knock on a door and say, hi, this is Pam. I hope I didn't catch a bad time. The reason I'm out here in your neighborhood is it's a great time for people to buy and sell real estate, and I wanted to visit with you and see if you knew anyone in the area who might consider buying or selling any real estate. It's that simple. Now, if she wants to say, well, I'm uncomfortable doing that, then fine. Then master the script with an expired or a for sale by owner. Hi, this is Pam. I hope I didn't get you at a bad time. The reason I'm calling is I saw your ad on Craigslist. I saw your ad in the newspaper. I saw your sign in the yard. And I was just curious, how much are you asking? Have you had many offers? Would you be offended if I asked if I could come by and see your home? Well, why would you want to see it, Pam? Well, if I had anyone who might be willing to make you an offer that would net you what you feel you must net in order to sell your home, you'd at least consider that offer, wouldn't you? Well, yeah. Well, I need to see your home to find out what you have to offer in case that happens. What time could I come by? Alternate close, by the way. Would 3 o'clock this afternoon or 4 be better? So my point is, if you don't know your scripts and dialogues, and I think you can tell, Pam, I do, then you're going to lose your motivation, because you're going to lose every time you open your mouth. And you're going to wander around like a chicken with your head cut off, not knowing what you're supposed to be doing. You're a businesswoman. You're supposed to generate leads. You're supposed to convert them to an appointment. Okay?
Yeah, you can mess around with getting your listing presentation together when you have that first appointment for a listing. I mean, go out and get the lead for the listing appointment and focus on the leads. The classic, well, go ahead, Gary.
Well, I think I would do two things. Now, to close the answer, I'd do two things. So at 9:30, after I practice my scripts and dialogues, then I would absolutely be working on my prospecting and my marketing. So I would be spending as much time on prospecting as I could. And here's the reason why. In these kind of situations, you want to be there talking to people live to hear the objections or the challenges and walk them through it. Not talk them into something they can't do, but walk them through it. Marketing, remember, that's all about pulling them to you and getting them to contact you. Yes, I would absolutely, on the marketing side, I'd put up a simple website. I'd make sure it had an IDX solution so people could see all the houses possible in the market. I would definitely make sure that I have some sort where I close for their contact information, and I would then work every day, remember, 9 to 1, prospecting and marketing. When I'm in my marketing mode, I'm working on what are the ways, pay-per-click, buy-in leads, search engine optimization. It's not complicated. Go find someone who has a successful website, or go get a package and learn how to do that. Again, in our own firm, we've got tons of information on exactly how to do that. But I would be doing both of those right now. I wouldn't waste another minute.
The only thing I would add, I talked to a lot of people when I was teaching this seminar, Gary, and they were new agents, and they were saying, wow, if this is really such a challenging time, is this the right time to be getting my license?
Yes.
And my answer to them is, When you learn how to operate in this market, you've learned how to operate in any market with the basics that'll help you grow your business.
Well, I've always learned if everyone's going south, go north. If they're getting out, you get in.
Right. Well, that's opportunity from an investor standpoint.
Yeah. Well, here's the good news for Pam. It doesn't get any worse than this.
Right.
It won't ever get any worse. And more than likely in her career, 99% chance you'll never see anything worse than this. Heck, no one's ever seen anything worse than this other than the Great Depression. This is the second worst market conditions we've ever experienced in the United States since the Great Depression. So this is tough. This isn't easy. This is tough. This is as tough as it gets. But I always tell people, well, if you weren't going to sell real estate, what job are you going to get? What are you going to do? And by the way, if you get that job, do you think they're going to not ask you to master it? I mean, what would you be doing for someone who is an employer that you wouldn't do for yourself? Learn your scripts and dialogues, time block 3 to 4 hours a day. Do your pick a couple of prospecting sources, expires for sale by owners, open houses. We have
your sphere for referrals.
Jay, we have agents who do nothing but do open houses every Saturday and Sunday for 3 hours that make over $1 million a year.
That's right.
We have agents who do nothing but run ads on Craigslist that net over $1 million a year. So this is not complicated. You need to do a little prospecting and a little marketing. You got to do both, because if you need money immediately, you don't have time for your marketing to work. You need to go out there and meet somebody. You can go stand in a mall and hold up an MLS printout in one hand and an amortization book in the other and have a big sign that says, I'm a realtor, ask me about the market. And it'd be more effective than what 99% of agents do.
It's a great idea,
So
Gary.
Pam is on the hook now.
She is. Hey, Gary and Jay, thank you so much for this much-needed presentation. Pam just got a great dose of coaching there. Thank you so much. And I hope you come back and speak to us again next year. But speaking of next year, on January 25th, we have one of your top Keller Williams educators, authors and agents, brokers, Brad Korn. And his webinar title will be Automate Your Follow-Up. And I know personally he's a great teacher who makes complex issues understandable. Wouldn't you agree, Gary and Jay?
Absolutely. Love Brad. I think it's a must-attend seminar.
All right.
Yeah, he's one of the few people I can tell you, because I get his marketing, he's committed to what we call a 33 touch. He is going to be in touch automatically with all of his potential clients all the time. He is a master.
All right, January 25th, 2011. Sign up after this, because we're running out of where our webinars are signing up. People are signing up really quick. Thank you again, Gary and Jay, and we've got a lot more questions we need to answer. I'll send a few to you, Jay and Gary, and see if you can answer them, and we'll put them on our blog. And that's secretsofTopSellingAgents.com/blog.
And I'd just like to say, because I bet Gary and Jay have to head out, thank you.
Yeah, thank you
And we'll
so much.
Bye to you guys, and see you soon, I hope.
Nope,
And they're already
gone.
gone, so
Excellent. They've got work to do. So,
Hey, thanks for having us. We just had it on mute. Thanks so much for having us. It was our pleasure.
it was amazing. We'll be back listening to it with everyone else.
thank you.
All right, thanks a
Over
lot.
and over again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So quickly, let's find out how to create a free Homes.com agent profile and start nurturing free leads. Here's Homes.com's Clinton Johnson to get you started and give you 5 tips to maximize your free profile. He'll also tell us more about Homes.com's biggest advertising discount of the year. Hi, Clinton, are you there?
I am here. Thank you, Deborah.
Sure.
Appreciate it. And thanks again to Gary and Jay for their presentation. I want to go ahead and jump right into this. Why create a profile on Homes.com? Well, in going with the theory behind Jay and Gary's presentation, Homes.com made a strategic shift in 2010 to be able to serve the real estate and home-related service industry. We had a new redesign of our portal, which included providing more content and lead generation opportunities by creating new sections to our site, such as our question and answer section, as well as our agent profiles that we are mentioning here. And best said, why create the Homes.com profile? Very simply, free leads. So Homes.com throughout 2010 has averaged about 5.5 million buyer and seller visits each month. Now, I know all of these are not searching for your particular market area, so why might this be relevant to you and your marketing efforts? Well, if we go on and look here, of the people who are visiting Homes.com, 81% of their visitors were not currently working with a real estate agent. That's a lot of people. The next thing is that 54% of Homes.com visitors are first-time buyers in need of agents with answers. I'm sure we all remember the first time we purchased a home or looked to purchase a home and all of the questions, especially if we weren't in the real estate industry at the time, that might have been present as we went through our search. Well, these people definitely need answers. They have questions for you. One of the fascinating things about the internet is the ability to be able to communicate with others about the information you might be looking for. At Homes.com, we now provide a forum to facilitate the communication between professionals and consumers. And as we say here, they have questions for you. Unfortunately, Homes.com, we're not the people who are set up to be able to answer these questions. We want those questions to be right back in the hands of the professionals serving in the local marketplace. When we talk about these professionals, we want to look here at an actual agent on Homes.com using her My Homes account effectively to be able to connect with Homes.com's visitors in her personal market area. Well, let's look at one of the questions on the screen. Very simply put, it said, we need someone to rent our house and we want to purchase another in Frederick, Maryland. How do we do that? She cordially comes on, responds, leaves contact information, and she's able to generate a new lead using Homes.com. This system has been very effective for Pamela in her use of Homes.com, and she was even willing to, as many people have, send in a testimonial for us about new listings as well as other clients she was able to create into her personal customer base of contacts as well as close. So in layman's terms, let me pose a question. If you were walking down the street and you saw someone buy a free publication box asking a question about the home buying process, would you attempt to step in and answer the question, or would you keep walking by? I know most of us on the call are professionals, so yes, we'd stop, we'd answer. Well, we at Homes.com are offering the same opportunity through the electronic distribution of questions and answers on our site. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The goal we have is to help you connect with these visitors to Homes.com and develop free leads. The way we're going to do that is by setting you up as the expert in your area by creating a free My Homes account so that you can interact with these people asking the questions. They need your help. So let's get started. There are two ways, actually, to go in and create this account. If you went www.homes.com, in the right-hand side where the arrow is pointing, you're going to see a sign in or join. Of course, sign in if you already have an account, and join if you do not. The other way is directly navigating to www.myhomes.com. Either way will put you into the screen where you can start to set up your personal profile on Homes.com. It's simple. There are only 3 easy steps that you need to do in order to start your account and get going with Homes.com. From that menu, as I said, the sign up or the join or the sign in, it's going to ask you, what are you? Meaning, are you an agent? Are you a broker? We might have some mortgage providers and other ancillary service providers on the call. They're going to ask who you are. Some simple information, and then choose your own personal profile login. After completing these steps, you're ready to go. After setting up your account, you will automatically appear in Homes.com's agent directory, a place where consumers go to find realtors in their particular area. As part of your profile, we will show additional information such as your contact info, links back to your website, your listing counts, and endorsements, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation. Now, we want to give you 5 tips on how to actually use and maximize your exposure by creating this My Homes profile. The first, add 5 coverage areas for consumers to find you. When we set up your account initially with the login process that I showed you, we're only going to put you in the main target area where your office is located. But in your control panel, which you get, you are able to go in and set up 5 different areas in which you can be sought out. So, for instance, if somebody comes to the agent directory and they type in Norfolk, Virginia, where I work, okay, I'm going to show up in Norfolk, Virginia. But at the same time, we have 7 other cities directly in and around the Norfolk, Virginia area, which I might also be doing business in as well. So it would behoove you to simply go, as you see here denoted on the screen, and set your areas of service. That's going to be the first thing to helping you maximize your account on Homes.com. Therefore, it won't just be Bethesda, as we see in this example. You're also going to show up in our directory when people search Bowie or Frederick or Gaithersburg, Germantown, or whatever market areas you choose for your particular business. Tip number 2. Add endorsements to increase your ranking. We know, and Gary and Jay talked about this earlier, that referrals are a big part of doing business in the real estate industry. So what we're seeing here is an example of Pamela's endorsements. But every agent wants their profile to rank higher in their local market. So in order to maximize these opportunities with consumers, Homes.com uses endorsements from your customers as a way of ranking agents. The more consumer endorsements you have, the higher you will rank in our agent directory. Endorsements are very easy to get. We have a built-in process in your myhomes.com account to invite your past clients to endorse you as an agent. And I know you're concerned. Don't worry. You will get to approve every single endorsement associated with your My Homes account on Homes.com before it is actually live on the site. So simply put, we give you a control panel where you go in, you type in the email address, it shoots out an email to your customer saying, hey, I enjoyed doing business with you, whatever verbiage you like. Can you come back to Homes.com and endorse me? They will send back their endorsement. In your queue, in your control panel, it will say, now you have one pending endorsement. You can go look at it. If it's something that you like, you click approve, and boom, now it's added to your actual My Homes account and searchable when people come to the agent directory. And every endorsement you do builds you up in our ranking, as our default for the agent directory is by number of endorsements. Think about your own self as a consumer. When you go into sites, you're going to look at reviews. You want to know, hey, how did people rate this product? So in this case, people are able to rate and see what type of experience that you bring to their process that they are thinking of utilizing you for. Tip number 3. Homes.com lets you set an unlimited number of market areas surrounding your primary advertising area. Now, by setting alerts in all of your local market areas in all question categories, you'll be able to maximize your opportunity to connect with consumers on Homes.com. Simply put, as we see down here through the brief shot of the profile, and this is actually a shot of an actual control panel that you would get in managing your myhomes.com profile, we see that under category it says all categories are selected. What that simply means is when people come to the Homes.com portal and ask questions, it means that you're going to receive an email alerting you that a question has been asked on Homes.com. Now, you can simply not go back to Homes.com and answer the question, but I guarantee you, first responders will always win big. These people are looking for answers, so therefore, go set all of your alerts as open alerts in all of your coverage areas so you're not missing out on any activity in your marketplace. This way, they'll ask more questions. The more questions that are asked are more opportunities for you to be able to connect with that particular consumer. Tip number 4, connect with consumers for free with Q&A. Well, this is just another screenshot here of some of the sample questions we've had on Homes.com. You see just in this one over 9,000 questions in this particular marketplace. That's pretty darn good. But these people need someone to answer. So, as we said, not just setting the alerts, but we also want you to go back and actually respond to these alerts. Watch for those alerts, they'll respond, and hopefully you'll walk out with a new customer. And just in case we didn't mention, this is a totally free service on Homes.com. No charge at all. Tip number 5, and this is, I guess, the biggest, and Gary and Jay alluded to this a little bit in their presentation, but don't become a non-responder statistics. I know most of you out there read NAR booklets and information, as well as the Inman News sites, different reporting sites, and it always baffles me when I see that people don't respond to leads. So we said here, respond to all inquiries quickly. Couple of quick stats here. 93% of agents who respond first win the lead. That goes back to what we were talking about earlier in that, hey, over 50% of Homes.com visitors are first-time home buyers, which means they don't have much exposure to the marketplace, and they're simply looking for someone to help guide them through. And normally the first person to respond to a question that they may have is the person that they're going to stick with. We want you to be one of those first responders. Now, in order to do that, we make it a little bit easier. Make sure that you are connecting your My Homes account to your smartphone to be able to provide an immediate response. It's actually very simple. You can easily do this by changing the email address associated with your My Homes account to one that sends inquiries directly to your smartphone. Therefore, you're always increasing your chances of being that first person to respond. 48% of Internet inquiries go unanswered, and this is the leading complaint from consumers. We see it a lot in our Q&A section where somebody is asked a question, and maybe, one of our staff members will go and directly try and hook them up with an agent because of the fact that they're looking for information. Well, 31% of Homes.com questions from consumers go unanswered. So 30% of 5.5 million is a pretty big number. So I would say for the people remaining on the call, this is the best time to go and make sure that you sign up and create that My Homes account. Be one of the first responders and win that lead. As Gary and Jay alluded to, inaction is not an option. As we were talking to the young lady who was the first-time agent, hey, we want you, this is a free source. If you're still on the call, make sure you, as a new agent especially, go and sign up for a profile on Homes.com. Zero allocation to your marketing budget, as it's a free service, and you'll have the opportunity to connect with consumers, whether buyers or sellers, in your particular marketplace. Don't be a non-responder. There are people out here with questions. We know that you guys as professionals have the answers, so please come, join their question and answer forum, see what Homes.com can provide to you, and, hey, hopefully you will win that lead.
Hey, Clinton, thank you so much. We've got a great praise here for Homes.com from Cindy. Homes.com is an excellent site, very user-friendly. Not only do we capture and convert leads, we find it very easy to get helpful stats and data online on the site, from the site. We have got so many great questions for you, Clinton, and a lot of praise for Homes.com, but we do not have time to read it. We have 7 winners. And I'd like to announce who they are. Don Price, Roxanne Pittsburgh, Julie Keenan, Glenda Gentry, Eric Kelly, or Keller, I think it's Kelly, Cindy Davies, and Laurie, ooh, what a great last name.
Adib.
Thank you. All right, so we have our winners. And
congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you, Clinton, and I think we'll have some good questions for all your salespeople there to call these people and answer their questions.
Well, that you mentioned that, Deborah, I just want to put this little plug in there. As you see up there, we're having a big sale right now. We extended last week's Cyber Week just to the attendees and registrants from this webinar, 50% off any advertising products from Homes.com. Only one product is excluded from that. So feel free, as Deborah just alluded to, we have plenty of consultants here that can answer your questions that are on my staff, 888-722-6172. Or if you'd like to put in, see more about the offer as well as send your inquiry in, you can go to corporate.homes.com/webinar special. We'd be very happy to help you.
All right, thank you, Clinton. Thank you very much. So everyone who's left here, sign up. Our webinars are overflowing now. Today we had to turn people away. So go to www.secretsoftopsellingagents.com and sign up for Brad's webinar on Tuesday, January 25th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific. And while you're there, check out Brad's archived presentation from last year, along with 45 other top real estate agents, brokers, and trainers and authors, giving you free education. Where else do you get to hear real estate agent giants for free? I don't think there's too many places. An invitation will be sent to you all prior to the next webinar, and you're all welcome. Thank you again, Gary and Jay. I know you've gone. Thank you, Clinton. That was a great presentation. And we'll be posting your answers on our blog at secretsoftopsellingagents.com/blog. Now, be sure to participate in the exit survey. We appreciate your feedback. And goodbye, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you to our webinar team. Thanks, Mel.
Team. Thanks, Deb. See you next month.
Not what you send, it's that you do.
I don't sleep.
All my emails are personalized.
My houses come up in the first
You're recording that testimonial.
Really, the more you have to be organized.
Not to put all your eggs into one basket.
Keep those people remembering you.
Give them what they're looking for.
But properly priced is the key.
I say, how can I do this different?
You know, we don't have a technology problem. We have a people problem.
You have to build a relationship.
Secrets of Top Selling Agents.